So thanks all of you for coming such a far distance to be here with us. So I'd like to take the next several minutes to update you all on some of the success IJV has had over the last year or so, and provide a bit of an analysis about where we're at as an organization. So we continue to play a crucial role in the Palestine solidarity movement in Canada by providing a Jewish voice of support and solidarity, which is of significant strategic value within Canada's political climate. While we have been able to defeat the Canadian Parliamentary Coalition to combat anti-Semitism, we continue to see attacks on the Palestine solidarity community in this country and on just about anyone who publicly challenges the interests of Canada's Israel lobby. IJV has been actively using our website and growing mailing list to respond to attacks on Palestine solidarity activists, both on and off campus, ranging from our email petition to the University of Windsor's president, to our e-blasts in support of Rehab Nazal, and her right as a Palestinian and Canadian citizen to express herself artistically and free of both attacks and censorship. On the latter issue, I believe that this was a huge and historic victory for the Palestine solidarity movement in Canada and a devastating loss of the seemingly unchallengeable power of Canada's Israel lobby. One of the observations within IJV was that we were becoming almost entirely reactionary, largely basing our work around responding to these kinds of attacks from the Israel lobby. In recognizing this, we decided to have active campaigns that join with Palestinians and other allies in support of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. This was the basis for IJV hiring me as our campaigns coordinator. I've been employed by IJV as a full-time staff person since May 6th of 2013. With an anonymous donation from a very generous couple in Toronto, IJV was able to hire me for a 6-month contract. And with generous donations of members and another anonymous donor, IJV was in the position to hire me for another additional year. While my contract is set to expire on October 31st of this year, I would like to continue this important work, and I know that the steering committee is doing everything in their power to maintain this position and to make it as permanent as possible. As the campaigns coordinator, I've been involved with helping to grow our SodaStream boycott campaign and our campaign exposing the Jewish National Fund. We've been working with allies in Canada after forming the Canadian Boycott Coalition for Justice in Palestine-Israel, in picketing SodaStream, and through social media and online tools challenging their sales in Canada. In doing so, we've joined a global movement boycotting SodaStream, which we can take pride in. SodaStream sales have been plummeting all over the world, along with their stock prices. This crisis for SodaStream will only get worse, and IJV will be there to help the boycott movement deliver its final blows. And in case you haven't heard, IJV Ottawa is responsible for the first victory in Canada against SodaStream. An Ottawa ecological store named Terra 20 has removed SodaStream from its shelves and has vowed to never again sell products from the Israeli settlements. For our campaign against the Jewish National Fund, we have a robust committee that's been active in assembling material, and we've been taking the lead in many cities across the country in organizing protests against their annual, or in the case of Halifax, once every 20 years or so, Negev galas. And working with Stop the JNF Canada activists in Toronto, we've also sent well over 2,000 postcards to the Minister of National Revenue calling for the revocation of JNF Canada's charitable status. We've also been lobbying members of Parliament, and we're beginning to expose the JNF to levels yet to be reached in Canada, especially through the media coverage received from the large protest outside of the Toronto Gala, where they honored Harper back in December of last year. I'm so proud to be a member of IJV in this very exciting moment. And of course, we've been the only voice of conscience within the Jewish community in Canada around the ongoing massacre in Gaza. We've been organizing relentlessly across the country, gathering signatures for petitions, protesting in public spaces, organizing vigils, and meeting with politicians to demand an end to the silence and complicity. We've even been given airtime on major news stations as the media is finally beginning to understand that voices of moral clarity within the Jewish community do in fact exist, and that we are standing side by side with our Palestinian sisters and brothers as we continue to struggle for equality and justice, two values that Jews throughout our history have held so dearly. As those of you who attended our bagel breakfast on Friday can attest to, the NDP has even started listening to us. Our articles, open letters, emails, and private meetings have made it clear to the NDP leadership that we will expose their hypocrisy relentlessly until they begin to act in the interest of the values with which they claim to espouse. Our visit from Paul Doer, which we must admit would likely not have happened without the help of the Gasters, should be as clear a sign as any that the times are changing and we must take full advantage of this historic opportunity. Canadians have been watching the carnage in Gaza in absolute shock and disgust. Many in Canada are hearing our voices and are applauding the work that we do, some even donating to us so that we can continue to speak the truth in the face of such enormous power. More and more Jews in Canada are searching for a group that reflects their values, and many have found a recent home in IJV. We have the potential to continue expanding our horizons and working towards more victories for BDS. But the road ahead is difficult, and we must continue to work together in solidarity with one another. I look forward to continuing this vital work with all of you, and I'm excited for an afternoon of thoughtful reflection on the past few days, as well as hopeful and inspiring brainstorming and decision-making about the future of this young and incredibly vital organization. Once again, I welcome you today, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us in our struggle to gain freedom for Palestine. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few minutes before our next item on the agenda.